Hi, I'm Dan Komisky. Welcome back to Connecting the Dots. Today we're lucky enough to have Brock McGregor with us, who's actually currently an incumbent for the City Council, and he's running again. And Brock, welcome. Thanks very much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Love you to tell a little bit about yourself, your connection with Chatham, why you ran for council originally, you know, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, so I grew up in ChathamKent. I actually grew up just in North Kent, in between Chatham and Dresden. So went to school growing up in Chatham, have been here my whole life. Went away, as a lot of folks do, for a few years for school, and then when I looked at options of where I kind of wanted to set up my life, there's a lot of pulls to back home. So we know this is a great community, and that's what brought me back. And came back with my wife. We now have 4 kids in the community. Have been here now, I think, 12 years since coming out of school. I've got a practice as a naturopathic doctor at Queen in Richmond. Been involved in the community quite a bit, so I'm a president of the board of a charity called Rise House International. So we run a women's and children's home in Haiti, and have been doing that for quite a number of years. I got involved in municipal politics. I saw some things that I thought we could do a little bit better. So in particular, working in healthcare, things that are really important to me are planned green space, active opportunities in the community, the way we support people in the community. And at the time I didn't see that reflected on council the way I wanted to, and I thought I had an opportunity to talk about those things a little bit more. Didn't necessarily expect to win when I was doing it, and was pleased that first election went well, and now I've been there fortunately for 8 years and got to work on a lot of things that are important to me. So regulation of payday lenders is something that I brought forward to council, which is something that I think is really important in our community, and have worked on a number of different things. Got to be on the Public Utilities Commission, the Board of Health.
So back up, sorry to interrupt you, but regulation on payday lenders, so you're talking about like the high interest lenders?
Yeah, so a lot of communities have done it, and we hadn't moved forward with it in Chatham-Kent. It's now allowed under provincial legislation. So essentially what we did is made them require licenses. We limited the number of licenses, so no new ones can open, and if one closes, there's actually fewer licenses than there are lenders right now, so they wouldn't be able to open back up. So really trying to limit where they are, how they operate, and did put some more regulations that we could on them, like the type of information they have to provide to their clients. So it was an important step forward, I think, in trying to make an impact in that area. That's something that really impacts communities. So was glad to get to work on that.
That's great. People are being taken advantage of.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, so and then I've been on the Board of Health. I was the budget chair for the last 4 years, which is really interesting exercise, and we're moving towards a 4-year budget process. The next council will, which I think is a really good opportunity to take a broader look at how we fund things in the municipality, and we'll offer some opportunity for some savings and just to do things better. We've learned lessons in watching other communities do that. London does a multi-year budget process, so I'm excited that we were able to get that moving forward as well.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that. And as you know, today we're very, very focused on the emergency shelter and the whole process behind that. So we're going to ask a lot of questions about that. And we've done that with everybody. We feel like it's really actually a good opportunity for people to show who they are.
Yeah.
Right. So when I just start here. Sure. I guess. So framing the question, on March 21st, 2022, Council decided to move the temporary emergency homeless shelter to a former elementary school on Murray Street without consulting residents of the neighborhood. No public meetings prior to council decision, no open houses, no surveys, no direct communication with residents at all prior to approving staff recommendations. Even 23 deputations asking for prior public consultation were ignored by a majority of council and the mayor. Why was there no prior notification or consultation with the people in this neighborhood about moving the homeless shelter here?
Yeah, and I think it's a good question, and it was a really difficult process. So I think to really understand how we got to that point, it's good to sort of zoom out and look at the whole 2.5 years of what's been going on in the community. So obviously, at the start of COVID, we saw a pretty significant increase in the number of homeless in our community, and part of that was people that had probably traditionally been couch surfing were asked to leave those places, and we saw a lot more visual homelessness in the community. And while we had always stuck to this housing first model of trying to get people into housing as quick as we could, utilizing motels, that wasn't an option anymore. So emergency shelter was opened initially at the Bradley Center. Through this whole period, right from when it was opened at the Bradley Center to the transition at the Travelodge to the location now, the municipality engaged a number of different realtors. They actually went through 3 realtors trying to evaluate and find available space. So one of the challenges, we'll talk in the community, people say, well, why wasn't this a good location, or why wasn't that a good location? Part of the issue is availability. So a location, a building, has to be available for at least number one. It has to be big enough to house the current need. and the projected need, and has to not require sort of massive renovation that would that there just isn't capital funding for. So the other challenge is the way this has been funded. So it's funded through initially through a provincial fund that was tied to COVID relief, and those announcements and how that funding was coming out really just came every couple of months. So there wasn't a good idea of how long this would be funded for, how much money would be there. So that's a real challenge in thinking about capital investments. So the idea of building a building, knowing how much money you get in advance would be something you'd need, and that wasn't information anyone had. So really, through this whole process,